Hello, and welcome to CommonLawCourt.com. So, the Stone of Destiny, Leah Fail, the Coronation Stone, Jacob's Pillow, the Stone of Scone. It goes by many names, but what is its significance, and what relevance does that have to your life today? Well, here goes. Now, irrespective of your own personal creed, colour, race, religion, cultural background or beliefs, the important thing here is the deeply held beliefs and convictions of those who deem it their God-given right to rule over us, and who have subsequently shaped our world history for thousands of years. For them, the story begins in Genesis, chapter 28, when we read of the patriarch Jacob and his journey through Padan Aram in search of a wife. Along the way, he spends the night at a place called Luz and uses a stone for a pillow. That night Jacob has a dream, wherein God comes to him and reaffirms the promises made to Abraham and Isaac before him, saying, "The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your seed. Be fruitful and multiply. A company of nations shall be from you. Kings shall be from your loins, and you shall spread abroad. In you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. I am with you, and will keep you in every place you go." Jacob wakes up, saying, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." He takes up the pillow, anoints it with oil, and sets it up as a memorial stone. He then renames that place Bethel, or House of God, saying, "This stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be the symbol of God's house." After Jacob's death, the Bethel stone remained in the possession of his sons, and the tribe of Judah became its guardian, taking it with them on their journey from Egypt and into the Promised Land. There it would become the coronation stone of all of the kings of Judah, and stay in Jerusalem from the time of David until the fall of the nation in 586 BC. The stone was then said to have been delivered via Egypt, Spain, and Cornwall to Ireland by the prophet Jeremiah, who had brought Tehatepe, the heiress to the Davidic royal throne, there with him to be married into the Irish royal line. With them they carried many ancient relics, including a stone that the Irish Israelites called Leah Fail, meaning stone of fate or destiny. Many researchers believe this to be the same stone that Jacob had slept upon and anointed with oil in Bethel. Leah Fail was eventually housed near Ulster, in an area called Tara, or Fort of the Kings, and for the next 1083 years, every king of Ireland up to and including Murdoch was crowned upon it. Then, in around 503 AD, Murdoch's brother, the Irish prince, Fergus the Great, invaded and settled western Scotland. And, wanting to be crowned king of the Scots-Irish who had migrated there, he had Murdoch send over the Leah Fail stone on loan to him for his coronation. However, the stone was never returned to Ireland, but was kept instead in a sanctuary on the Isle of Iona, and then later moved to Scone, hence the name the Stone of Scone, and thereafter every successive king of Scotland was crowned upon it. When King Edward I of England conquered the Scots in 1296, you might remember this from the Braveheart movie, in order to prevent them from ever again having a legitimate king of their own, he had Leah Fail taken and moved to Westminster Abbey in London. There he had a special coronation chair built around it, and there it remained for all future English monarchs to be crowned upon too. The Scottish and English kingdoms were eventually united under King James in 1603, and since then every ensuing king or queen of the United Kingdom has been crowned in this same chair, atop the coronation stone. And it is through these thrones that the Davidic royal line has been preserved. Until, in the early hours of Christmas morning 1950, when 4 young students from Glasgow University, led by Scottish nationalist Ian Hamilton, broke into Westminster Abbey and removed the stone, and somehow managed to smuggle it back north of the border to Scotland.
They took away the symbol of our nation, the Stone of Destiny. To bring it back was a very, very symbolic gesture.
The group had been practicing for the heist using a replica stone made by Glasgow sculptor Bertie Gray. But this turned out to be of little use to them. The real coronation stone was far heavier than the fake one, and it was cracked diagonally across its surface. And, as they struggled to remove it, the stone broke in two. Once back in Scotland, the stolen stone would have to be repaired. This again would be done by Robert Bertie Gray. Crucially, as it would turn out, he used 4 metal rods, 1 per hundredweight of stone, to put the 458-pound stone back together before taking it to be hidden in a tractor repair shed in Wester Ross. Once its disappearance was discovered, the hue and cry was unprecedented. It was apparent that public opinion in Scotland was not as overwhelmingly in favour of the students' actions as they had hoped for. So, on the 11th of April 1951, they placed the Stone of Destiny, covered in a saltire, at the altar in the ruins of Arbroath Abbey, the site where the declaration proclaiming the independence of the Scottish people had been made back in the April of 1320.
To do something for your country which spills not a drop of blood is, I think, something to be proud of.
The authorities were duly informed, and upon recovering the stone, had it taken once again back to Westminster Abbey, in time for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. And there it remained, until St Andrew's Day of 1996, when John Major's government had the Stone of Destiny returned to Scotland for good, where it now resides amongst the Honours of Scotland exhibition in Edinburgh Castle, only to be loaned out to Westminster for future coronations. Except, upon further examination, the geological and forensic evidence begins to tell us quite a different story. Historic Environment Scotland's own literature states that a technical examination of the stone carried out by British Geological Survey staff after its return conclusively confirmed that it was made from old red sandstone quarried in the vicinity of Scone. But 3 independent geologists had already examined the original stone before the theft and unanimously concluded that it was made of a calcareous sandstone which cannot be found anywhere in the British Isles. It could, however, be found in the Middle East, near Luz, or Bethel, Jacob's House of God. Home Office officials and Westminster Abbey staff had also carried out an X-ray on the returned stone. They were looking for the metal rods which Robert Gray had used to repair it. These X-ray images immediately showed that there were 3 metal rods in the stone. But, as we know, Mr. Gray had used 4 metal rods to put the real 458-pound stone back together, and government papers do show concern that only 3 rather than 4 rods were recorded. And so, it was this stone, with the 3 rods and weighing in at 336 pounds, a full 122 pounds lighter than the original, that Elizabeth Mountbatten was crowned upon at Westminster Abbey in 1953. So, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Battenberg Hanover Saxe Coburg Gotha, Windsor to you and me, has never been crowned upon the real Leofale coronation stone. And therefore she has never been officially crowned Queen of Great Britain in the eyes of God. This in turn would mean that every Act of Parliament and piece of government legislation that she has signed into being since her coronation in 1953 is null and void and fraudulent. Privately, we have learned that George VI had a superstitious fear that the loss of the stone portended the end of his dynasty. He must have known, as must his daughter, that the stone that was left at Arbroath Abbey on the 11th of April in 1951 was a Scottish sandstone fake. After her father's death in February of 1952, Elizabeth delayed her own coronation for a whole 16 months, desperately seeking the genuine stone. Then, unsuccessfully, she tried to have all television cameras banned from the Abbey during her ceremony, perhaps for fear that upon seeing it, the people would recognise the stone as a fake and know that she was a pretender to the throne that she was affecting to be crowned upon. It is also interesting to note that Queen Elizabeth signed her coronation oath above the words requiring the monarch's signature. You always sign at the bottom of a contract to confirm that you are bound by the words above. Thus, she voided the contract, confirming that she is not bound by the oath that she swore to God and to the people, and that she has not lawfully been sworn in as queen. Because of this, it stands as a fact in law that all statutory courts, barristers, solicitors, and judges have no authority. Their perceived authority is obtained from the Queen. And as we can confirm that we do not have a legitimate Queen, then they do not have legitimate authority. Furthermore, a common law court convened in Guildford on the 31st of August 2019 confirmed all of this in its verdict. The court orders issued at the conclusion of that case clearly state that the jury, consisting of 12 reasonably minded men and women, having considered all of the evidence presented, unanimously decided that the coronation of Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Battenberg on June 2nd in 1953 was fraudulent due to the failure to have the ceremony witnessed by God, or the Stone of Destiny, and that therefore the Crown, statutory courts and judges have no authority and jurisdiction over living men and women. All overseas judicial systems throughout the world are the same. Even if they are not part of the Commonwealth or connected to the UK, they are registered through the Bar, the British Accreditation Registry, which was set up in 1541 by royal appointment to King Henry VIII, and they are therefore all connected through the Bar to the Queen herself. But, as we have no Queen, then they have no authority either. A preliminary argument to challenge both the jurisdiction and sovereignty of Elizabeth II could be made as follows. 1. Given that the coronation was not lawfully conducted in 1953, we have no Queen. 2. If we have no Queen, then solicitors, barristers and courts have no authority. 3. As a bill must have royal assent before it can become an Act of Parliament, this means that all statutory laws and legislation since 1953 are null and void. 4. The individual who purports to be the Queen was in fact, as we have shown, never rightfully nor lawfully the sovereign or the Crown. Therefore, the Crown Prosecution Regina has no authority to put a defendant on trial, and the judge has no authority to try them, because the judge's authority comes from her. If everyone began using this defence tomorrow in all statutory courts, the entire legal system could be brought to its knees in a matter of weeks, if not days. And as a final note, in the Scottish National Library and in Windsor Castle, there are tables containing the complete genealogies of all of the Scottish kings, showing their descent through the Irish kings and by way of Judah, Jacob and Isaac, back to Abraham. Thus, our monarchy existed long before there was a British nation. But that line is now broken, as it would seem God's will, by having the stone of destiny taken.